What is going on, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to Let's Talk with Coach Stone. That's right, I'm Coach Stone, and I'm so excited that you're here. Let's wait for some folks to come in, and then we'll get into something. I should have some tunes playing. What's going on? Archer the Fourth. What's up? What's up? How you doing, man? Hope all is well with you. Nice, beautiful day here in Toronto. Yeah, man, I'm just busy, just keeping busy. Doing lots of training and coaching and so on. Got the podcast going. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. Just keeping busy, you know. Okay, cool. Got to get that lunch break in. I love it, man. How's everything going with the clothing line and the masks? Hopefully that's going well. I'm seeing like everybody's making masks now. Like everybody's doing this now. It's crazy. Chef Stone in the house. Got my uncle up in here, everybody. What's good, Chef Stone? Yeah. Just jumped on here real quick because, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about like personal branding. And I've been talking a lot about branding lately. And I'm just going to share a couple quick tips with you to help you build your personal brand and the brand of your business. Archer the Fourth said, busy, my man. Just on that home stretch for the launch of our Essential line. Man, can't wait till you drop those clothes, man. I can't wait. It's going to be dope. Definitely got to get you back on again. We got to go hard again in another conversation, Archer the Fourth. Chef Stone, what's going on? So I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit about like what's happening in terms of, the podcast and some of the things that I've been doing. So I launched the podcast, the Grind and Gratitude Show, about 2.5 or 3 weeks ago. And what happened was, Chef Stone says, still grinding. So what happened with the podcast was like, I've been just pushing it out and I'm going to start interviewing people soon and so on. But the podcast has already reached listeners in 10 different countries already. So for everybody who's listened to the podcast, everybody who's left a review, really appreciate that. And the latest episode I dropped on Monday. So every Monday I'm going to be coming out with a brand new episode. And the episodes are like 30 minutes. And really it's just like you can listen to it on your way to work. You can listen to it while you're doing stuff around your house. And it's like 30 minutes of just like power. I just give you something and then give you some tips and tools to help you implement it. So the episode that I just dropped on Monday was all about like building your brand, right? And why you have to use storytelling to build your personal brand and to build your brand of your business. And thanks, Adam. I appreciate that. So a few days ago, I just did a workshop with 40 young entrepreneurs, and it was all about the power of using your story in your brand. And I've been doing this workshop now for about 3.5 years. And one thing that people don't understand is like, we are storytellers. Like everything that we do is around stories, right? But a lot of us don't realize like that's the way to build your personal brand, right? So if you're trying to build your brand, if you're trying to get out there who you are, then use storytelling. And that's what's really helped me. Like I've built my brand so much by just telling bits of my story. In my book, You Have the Keys Now Drive. In my businesses, on my posts that you see here, I share bits and pieces of my story and the challenges and the successes and the things that I've learned. And because of that, people think that they know me and they have this deeper connection with me. And as a result, I've landed clients. So a perfect example is, I started doing these lives. What's up, Sean? I started doing these Instagram lives and Facebook lives on March 19th or 18th. The day after it was announced that we were under quarantine, that's when I started going live. And what I was doing is going live, in the first couple of weeks, I was going live every single day, just live, just asking people how they were feeling. Then I started teaching some things. Then I started Let's Talk with Coach Stone, where I come on and you can ask questions, and I bring on some of my friends like Archer the Fourth. We had a great conversation here. And so what I realized is that, and I knew this for a long time, is the more that you lead with service, the more that you tell your story, and not just your story to tell it, but how your story can help other people change things in their lives. The more that you do that, the more that it builds your personal brand and your business brand. So I just did this workshop a couple of days ago with 40 young entrepreneurs. My podcast episode just dropped today about the same thing. And it's all about the power of using your story in your brand. So I'm going to tell you guys 7 reasons that you need to use your story in your brand, okay? 7 reasons that you need to use your story to grow either your personal brand or the brand of your business. So the first reason is when you start understanding your story, you realize things about yourself, right? The minute you sit down and you actually dig into your story and you look at like where you've been and your whole journey up until now, then you start to realize your journey. And most of us don't realize it because we actually don't sit down and think about it. Like we understand that we've been through some challenges in the past, or maybe you understand that you've had some successes or some wins in the past, but how often do you really sit down and write that out? Never, right? So every time I do this workshop about, the power of using your story and your brand, I get participants to do this one activity. And this one activity gives people such a breakthrough. Like there's people who are crying. There's people who, realize things about themselves that they had blocked and locked away in the back of their mind. And so what I get people to do is this one thing, and you really have to go deep with it. I ask people to write down 3 things that have happened in your life that have shaped who you are. What are 3 experiences or 3 things that have happened to you in your life that have made you who you are right now? And they can be great things like, maybe I never thought I would graduate high school at one point, so maybe that would be one. But they can also be challenging things as well. What are some of the challenges that you've overcome that made you who you are right now? And I'm telling you, if you actually sit down with a pen and paper and you think about that and you really get honest with yourself, you can do more. You can do 3, 5, 7 things. But when you actually sit down and you think about 3 things that have really shaped who you are, right? You have to be honest with yourself. And a lot of us aren't willing to do that. But whenever I do this workshop, there's a good amount of people in the workshop that actually do it and they go deep. And I'm telling you, last week when I did part 1 of this session with these 40 young entrepreneurs, some people had some real breakthroughs. Like the stories that came out in that workshop were unbelievable. And so what happens when you're vulnerable with yourself and you're able to be honest with yourself and you acknowledge your journey, whether it's challenging things that you've been through or maybe some of the wins and the successes you've had, that helps you realize things about yourself, right? You know what I'm saying? Dr. Vibe, what's up? Chef Colin Stone said, damn, that's going to open up some wounds. Well, it does open up wounds, but the crazy thing about it is I can't even really tell you guys some of the stories that have come out. Like every time I do this, like people have talked about, being abused by a family member. People have talked about being in, abusive relationships. People have talked about, having really bad relationships with their parents. People have talked about being homeless with their child on the street. And it's all these things that they blocked away. But here's the thing. Sometimes I understand you don't want to open up those wounds, but what we don't understand is that when we lock things away in the back of our mind, it could secretly be blocking us from the blessings and the happiness and the success that we want in our lives, right? So when you lock something away and you think, oh, that's gone, well, maybe it's getting in the way of you having a loving relationship. Maybe it's getting in the way of you being a great parent. Maybe you have financial blockers like I did that were getting in the way of me breaking through that mindset that I couldn't have money, right? And you don't realize these things until you actually sit down and with your thoughts and actually think about these things. And so, I was doing this at this time and I've overcome this, or this was a big win in my life. When you actually sit down and do that, then you can start to understand maybe why you have some of the blockers that you have in your life. CP2 brand, what's going on? So there's power in understanding your story. There's power in understanding your journey and sitting down with a pen and paper and being honest with yourself. So that's the first benefit. Like, the first reason you should do it is, number one, is that you learn a lot about your own story, right? Archer the Fourth said, I had some money block. I didn't know you had it too. Yeah, we all have money blockers. Like, if you've grown up with some type of money challenges or some type of struggle in the past, then the chances are that you probably have some money blockers. And you don't even realize it until you actually sit down and think about it. Like, I grew up in low-income housing, and sometimes we had to get food from the food bank and so on, whatever, right? So I always used to have this poor mindset. I used to think like I was always poor, right? But what I didn't realize is that, no, I wasn't poor. We were just a little bit disadvantaged. Once I started traveling and seeing real poverty, I realized, no, I wasn't poor. So that was my mindset. But the other thing that I realized is that my grandparents were homeowners. They owned a duplex. They lived in one side. They rented out the other side. And so they had like an investment property. They were immigrants from Jamaica to Nova Scotia in the 60s. And they were able to buy a duplex, live in one side, and rent it out. And so I never thought I could be a homeowner and all of that. And once I sat down and realized that, I changed my story, because I was always coming from it from the place of I never had enough growing up and that I would never own a home and I never could. Meanwhile, my grandparents were perfect examples of not only homeowners, but investment property as well. So that's what happens when you actually sit down, you think about your story and your journey, and you actually write it out. You realize things about yourself and about your life that might have been true at that time, but now you can see it from a different perspective. Archer said, I grew up blessed, but then got screwed with my ex-business partner and some other people, and it created some blocks. That's exactly what happens, Adam. Sometimes people you do business with or people you trust, sometimes they screw you, and then you put up this wall, and then, it's hard to kind of break through that wall in terms of your mindset with the next person that comes along, So that's the first thing. Telling your story helps you realize things about yourself. The second reason you need to tell your story in your brand or in your business is you help others by telling your story. So what you think sometimes you think you're the only one that's going through something. And have you ever shared something about yourself, a struggle that you've had, and then other people are like, oh, that happened to me too, or I'm going through the same thing, or thank you so much for sharing that because I really needed to hear that today. And so telling and sharing bits and pieces of your story can help you in your own personal brand, but it helps you in your business as well. And so I think sometimes people think my story doesn't matter. It's not that bad, or it's not that challenging. Everybody has a story, right? We all have a story. And telling and sharing that story can really help you to help other people with that story. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter how you grew up. It doesn't matter anything. We can all relate to different people on different levels. And so you telling your story can really help other people maybe break through challenges that they're going through, or maybe even at the very least, just let them know that they're not alone. When you're struggling sometimes, you think that you're the only one that's going through financial problems. You think you're the only one going through relationship problems. You think you're the only one going through this business roller coaster. But sometimes when you open yourself up and you're willing to speak about that, you realize that you're not the only one. And so telling your story, especially if you're a business owner, can really help you help other people. Okay? The third reason you need to tell your story and really sit down and think about your story is to understand your wins. Understand your wins. What's important now, right? Your wins. What's important now? See, a lot of us end up chasing things that don't even matter, right? Well, I used to work in the corporate world. I used to see everybody driving nice cars, and I used to say, yeah, I want this Mercedes, or I want this. And I realized I don't even really care about a car. Once I actually sat down and realized what's really important in my life at that particular time, it had nothing to do with a car. It had nothing to do with material things. It was about my health, my mindset, all those kinds of things. And so what happens is we end up chasing other people's dreams and chasing what other people have, and we don't even really want it ourselves, right? And so sit down and think about your wins. What's important now? Is it your health and wellness? Is it your finances? Is it your relationship? Is it your parenting? Is it your personal development? What's important now in your life? Think about your wins. What's important now? So the power of really understanding your story and telling your story help you to build your personal brand and your business brand. So the first thing it does is it helps you to realize your journey, like how far you've come. The second thing is you get to help other people by telling your story. The third thing is you understand your wins, what's important now. And the fourth reason that you really want to tell your story, especially if you have a business, is it helps you to form a deeper connection with other people and a deeper connection with potential clients and customers, right? So once I started sharing, bits and pieces of my story, then I started landing more customers. And it's crazy. Like the minute I said, look, I know what it's like to be working in a corporate job where you're overwhelmed and underpaid and they just don't care about you. I know what that's like. I used to be stressed out and overworked and I put in all these hours, and when it came time to get a raise or a bonus, I used to get overlooked. I know what that's like. And so as a result, I decided to quit my job and do what I love for a living, which is teach other people how to turn their passion into profit and make a greater impact in the world. Once I started saying that to people, all of these people who are already working in these corporate jobs who felt like I felt back in the day, we formed this bond. We formed a deeper connection because I could understand what they're currently going through. And so that's the power of telling your story. When you tell your story, you form these deeper connections, maybe even with your friends, your family, and potential clients and customers, and even your current clients and customers. So, that's the power of really digging deep, really being honest with yourself and telling the story. Now, I know what you're saying, like, Danny, I don't want to tell people all my deep, dark secrets. I'm not saying that. You can tell whatever you feel comfortable. But the fact that you even share a snippet of your story, people will understand that. And that also makes you stand aside from maybe people who are in the same business as you. Nobody has my exact same story. I do a lot of personal development work. I do business coaching and life coaching and, speaking and all that stuff. And when I first started, I had people tell me, well, why are you doing that? You're not Tony Robbins. You're not Les Brown. You're not Lisa Nichols. And they almost talked me out of it. They almost did. But then when I realized that, look, I have a story, people can maybe relate to me more than they can relate to some of those people. And once I started sharing my story and people were saying, thank you for sharing, or thank you for sharing those lessons, then I realized, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I didn't let people talk me out of it. So it's important that you understand that you have a story. Your journey matters. The things you've been through, the ups and the downs matter. And you can use that to develop your own personal brand or the brand of your company or your business. Okay? Is this making sense to you guys? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up or say yes if this makes sense to you. I just want to know because in my mind it makes sense, but sometimes it doesn't always work that way. But this is what I've been teaching entrepreneurs for like the last 3.5 years. Well, one of the things, the power of really telling your story and using it in your brand, right? So that's the fourth reason that you really want to tell your story, right? Because you develop deeper connections with people. The fifth reason you wanted to tell your story in your business especially is it helps you understand your why. What is your why in life? Like, why do you wake up every day? What are you working towards every single day? If you're a business owner, what is your why? What's your why for your business? Why did you start that business? A lot of people don't know that, right? Why did you take the job that you have? What do you hope to get from that job? See, the power of like really understanding your story is going to give you clarity about why you wake up every day, why you started that business. It's going to give you more clarity. So when you sit down and you think about your story and you think about all the things that you've been through, and then you kind of put that into context in terms of now, where are you going? Why you wake up every day is put into context. Every job I've ever had for the last 12 years, I knew exactly what I wanted to get from those 3 jobs over the last 12 years. One job, I just wanted to get education and get them to pay for my schooling, right? Another job, I just wanted to learn the business. My other job, I wanted to make enough money so I could get a down payment for a house. Like, what is your why for waking up every day? And when you actually sit down and think about your journey and you think about your story and where you are right now in that journey, it's going to help you get clear about your why. Why you wake up, why you go to work every day, why you work on your business every day. It's going to help you to get clear on that why. Okay? So that's the power of really understanding your story and working it out and really thinking about the events that have in your life that have helped to shape who you are right now. The sixth reason that you want to learn to tell your story in your business is it's all about you. And, you know, one of the most visited pages on your website is your About Me section. So if you have a website, you know, your homepage and your About Me section are the two most visited pages, right? And so when you are clear about your story and clear about why you started your business, you can put that together and you can use that in your About Me section, right? If you go to iamdannystone.com/about, you'll see all of the things I do. And I share snippets of my story. So when somebody reads that, they're like, okay, yeah, he used to be stuck in the corporate world. You know, he grew up in low income housing. He's dedicated his life. He's always been in the people helping business. When people understand that story and they understand my journey, now they're more likely to become a client or a customer. And so learning that can really help you in your About Me section on your website. Position. So if you're a business owner, you should know what your USP is. Your USP, unique selling proposition, is what makes you different from your competitors. What makes you different from your competitors? If you're selling the same thing that your competitors are selling, cool. Thanks for tuning in, Dr. Vibe. If you're selling the same thing your competitors are selling, what makes you unique? What makes you different, right? Maybe you're selling the exact same product. Maybe you're selling the exact same service. What makes you different? One of the things that really make you stand out from your competitors are your stories. The story, your own personal story, or the story of your business and how your business became to be, right? So think about that. Think about how you can stand out from other people. Think about how you can stand out from other businesses. That's your USP. So understanding your story is going to allow you to develop that USP. And not only that, it helps you to communicate what you do to other people. C. Morris Walker, what's going on? So when you understand your story, it also helps you communicate it to other people. So people ask me all the time, like, Danny, like, what do you do? Right? I do all kinds of things. I do speaking, I do coaching, I have an online school for entrepreneurs. My podcast is out, The Grind. Let's see if we can get some sound in here. Volume's all the way up. What is going on? Huh. Can you guys hear me now? Back online. Can you hear me now? Let me know if you can hear me. I don't know what's going on today. We're having some technical difficulties. Let me know if you can hear me now. Yes. I don't know what happened. That's funny. All right. So I'll go back over what I was saying. So, all right. Welcome. Thanks for coming back, everybody. Appreciate it. What's up, Jill, Felipe, CP2 brand? So what I was talking about is like the power of using your story to build your brand, right? And I've been teaching this for like 3.5 years. And so there's 7 reasons that I teach why you need to tell your story. And so the first one is telling your story in your brand helps you to realize your own journey. The second thing is that you help others by telling your story, because people can sometimes understand that maybe they're not the only ones that have struggled, or, you know, just you opening up lets them understand other things about themselves. The third reason you need to tell your story, especially if you have a business, is that you get to know your wins, your what's important nows, okay? So telling your story and really understanding your story help you to put things into context in terms of your wins and what's important now. The fourth reason that you really want to tell your story, especially if you have a business, is it helps you to form deeper connections with people, especially if you're a business owner. Telling your story or bits of your story can help you develop a deeper connection with potential customers and clients. And I've seen this a lot over the last 5 or 6 years. You know, I never used to like to share anything about my story. You know, I never used to like to tell people that, you know, I struggled in life, or I always try to present this picture perfect image, especially working in the corporate world. And as I said, once I started opening up about my own journey, that's when people started developing stronger bonds with me, right? And so that's one of the benefits of you sharing your story, is that if you're a business owner especially, you can develop these deeper connections with clients and potential customers. The fifth reason you want to tell your story is to understand your why, right? Like, why do you wake up every day? Why did you start your business? Why do you go to your job every single day? What is your why? What's your why? Right? And a lot of us don't know that. And I think it's very important that you understand why. Like, what are you trying to create in your life? Are you just waking up every day and going through the motions? What's the point of that? Think about what you want to create in your life, right? What do you want in terms of your health, your wellness, your finances, your career, your business, your relationship as a parent? What do you want? Right? And focus on those things. And what happened with me is, once I got clear on my why for my business and what I'm trying to create in my life, I really started just focusing on those things. And as a result, I started attracting the right people. I started getting all of these opportunities, and all of the things that didn't really matter just started going away. I stopped wasting time on stupid things that just that were really holding me back. I moved through some relationships because there were just some people in my life that they just weren't going anywhere. They were very negative. And I realized that was part of the thing that was holding me back as well. So all of these things happened once I kind of got clear about what I was trying to create in my life, why I was waking up every day, why I started my business, why my whole goal in life is to serve other people and help them figure out who they really are, right? Once I did that and I got clear about my why, then everything in my life changed. Everything changed. You know, I had opportunities to go and speak in other countries. I wrote 2 books, you know, the podcast, the online school, everything just got aligned when I realized what my why is, right? So think about that for yourself. Why do you wake up every day? Why did you start a business? What do you want to create in your life? Like, here's this. Think about, what does a perfect day look like for you? What is a perfect day? What does a perfect day look like for you? Like, think about it. Sit down. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are the people that you're around? How do you feel? Think about what the perfect day looks like for you. Write it out. And then maybe that's your why. Maybe your why for waking up every day is to try to get closer to creating that perfect day. And once you're able to create that perfect day once, maybe the goal is for you to create that perfect day as many times as you possibly can in your life, right? So think about your why. And sitting down and writing out your story can help you to get clear about your why, okay? And you guys have always, if you've been following me, you know that. Make your why bigger than your whining. Make your reason why you have to achieve something bigger than any excuse that you ever have, okay? So that's what telling your story can do. The sixth thing that we talked about is telling your story helps you to get clear about your message. And you can use that message in your About Me. You can use it in your social media. You can use it on your email list. You can use it when you're networking and you're telling people about your business. But once you kind of figure out your journey, once you figure out why you do what you do, understanding that can help you communicate that better to people. And that's what it did for me. I used to do everything. I was a business coach. I had drop shipping. I had a watch company. I was doing all kinds of things just to make money. And then when I sat back and I thought, like, why am I doing all this? Like, what is this all about? Is this really going to help me, help people move forward in their life? And then I realized it wasn't. And then once I kind of got focused, then I could clearly articulate what I was trying to help people do and the services that I was providing. And then the seventh reason that you really want to tell your story in your business is your USP. What's your unique selling proposition? What makes you stand out from other people? What makes your business stand out from other businesses? It's you, your unique selling proposition. It's your story. It's your journey. It's your reason that you started the business in the first place. Like, I know people who started, makeup businesses because they didn't like what was happening in the makeup industry. My boy Adam Archer started a clothing company, a high-end couture clothing company, but he started it because he saw what was happening in the fashion industry and he didn't like all the pollution and the harm going to the environment. So he started a clothing company that, is all environment friendly garments and materials that he uses. So think about your why for starting your business, right? What is it? And those days that you have tough days and the days that you're struggling and challenging and the days you want to quit, and the days people laugh at you because you don't have the level of success that you want, those are the days that you need to call on that why, that thing that makes you different, the reason that you started, and keep going. And I've had lots of those days, like a lot of those days over the last 7 years. There's a lot of days where I thought, man, why should I even keep going? Do people even care? Like, I've had so many of those days. And then I would just snap out of it. I'm like, no, I'm on a bigger mission. I'm trying to help people change their life. I'm trying to help people do what they love for a living, have more freedom in their life to do whatever they like. And I would snap out of it. And it's like, okay, well, so-and-so's doing it and this person's doing it. So why are you different? Well, I'm different because of my experiences. I'm different because I care more than other people, right? So figure all of that out. And yes, we're talking about your USP in terms of business, but what's your USP in terms of a family member? What makes you unique? What's your USP in terms of being a friend? I do my best to be a great friend. I do my best to check in on my friends and find out what's happening with them and to listen and to share in their successes and check on them when they're not doing so well. So you can have what makes you different than your other friends, right? Like, just think about that. Think about it. Archer the Fourth said, the why is everything. It keeps you going when you don't feel like doing the taxes or the bills or the business BS. Remembering the why will push you through those tough days. That's 100% true. Like, everybody thinks that, owning your own business is so great. You can wake up at noon, you kind of just breeze through it. Nah, owning your own business is tough. It's tougher than going to that 9-to-9 job every day. But here's the thing. When you love what you do, when you're passionate about it, when you have a bigger mission, when your why is bigger than your whining, when you understand what it's all about, it's rewarding. Even the challenges, it's so rewarding. And so you have to figure out a way to make it happen. Even in the tough times. Like, I've gotten side hustles to help me grow my business because I wasn't making enough money in my business at times. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And anybody who tries to talk you out of, doing what you love for a living, or anyone who tries to say, here's all the reasons you're going to fail, they're only telling you that because they're afraid to take action. They're only telling you that because they're scared to change some things in their life, right? So it's easier for them to tell you all the reasons you're not going to be successful, opposed to them stepping up and saying, look, I know I need to take control of my health. I know I have to get out there and find another job because this one's not doing it for me. I know that I have to be a better parent. I know I have to do better in my relationship. So instead of people doing that hard work, it might be easier for them to just tell you, somebody who's brave enough to go after your goals and dreams, that you're not going to be successful. I've had people say that to me before, and I almost believed them, but I was on a bigger mission. I knew why I was waking up every day. I would get messages from people that would tell me, like, man, that training, that coaching, that blog post, the social media post, it really helped me to see something different. And so I just kept going. And 6.5, 7 years later, I'm still here. So you need that drive. Especially if you're a business owner, you have to connect with other people in the business community, because sometimes being a business owner is like, it's very isolating, right? You're very kind of into yourself, and especially when you're a solo entrepreneur and you don't have a team. And so it's really important to become part of a business community and to connect with other business owners. And not only that, to be vulnerable and to be honest about the challenges that you're having in your business. Because I've joined different business communities, and I would go into communities and I would sit there and I'd be quiet and act like nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, my business was flopping. I wasn't making hardly enough money to pay my bills. And once I started opening up and being honest at that time about the struggles and challenges I was having, then, other business owners started telling me things that worked, how they pivoted, all of those kinds of things. So the point is, like, if you're trying to get somewhere in your life, if you're trying to create something in your life, a better life, you're trying to become the best version of yourself, you're trying to grow your business or start this business, and you want to make a greater impact in the world, you got to do a reality check. You got to get real with yourself. You got to get real with who you are if you're trying to create a better life for yourself. And sometimes you got to sit down and have those conversations and really check yourself with the difficult things that have happened. And you might even be the cause of some of those difficult things. Like, I definitely know that. I know that I've done some people wrong in my life. I know that I've messed up some relationships, some, personal friendships, and romantic relationships. But you got to do that if you're trying to move forward in your life. If you're trying to create a better life. You can't skate by the things that you try to ignore. And so really understanding your story, when you sit down and you think about your journey and you think about 3 to 5 things that have happened in your life that made you who you are, trust me, it's going to help you realize some things about yourself. And if you choose to share that with other people, you're going to help them learn and grow, and you're probably going to develop deeper connections with those people. That's exactly what happened with me when I started doing that. Vision 2020 said, you realize your business starts losing when you forget the purpose, the why that drove you to start. Yo, that's 100% right. Too many people out here are worrying about looking a status. We're worrying about looking a certain way. Listen, I know people who are living in $1 million homes who are broke, driving nice cars. They're broke, right? So stop worrying about status. Stop worrying about how you appear to other people, and focus on your purpose, your mission, helping your family move forward, being that friend that you want, others to be to you. Focus on the things that matter. Focus on the wins. What's important nows, right? And it's tough. It's tough for a lot of us to do. And, I know you're saying, well, easier said than done. There's some things I don't even want to think about that have happened in my life. And I completely get it. But think about this. It can be blocking you from amazing experiences. Those things can be blocking you from breaking through financially, from breaking through in your relationship, from finding that person that you're meant to be with, from being an awesome parent. Those blockers and those things that you may have locked away could be stopping you from living a better life, a more vibrant life. And so you got to do that reality check. You have to do the reality check. And the reality check starts with learning your story, being honest with your story and your journey, acknowledging what you've been through, where you are right now, and where you're trying to go. That makes sense to you guys? Let me know. Let me know if that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions or any comments? If you want to go live, just click here. We can go live and you can ask your question. But this is what I've talked about this week and last week. I did a 2-part series on this whole thing. And it was very helpful. You know, the 40 people that were in the session, a lot of them really realized things about themselves. It was the first time that some people have actually said some of those things publicly about their journey. And that's the power of it. That's the power of just being honest with your story. And again, I'm not only talking about the bad things. I'm not only talking about the things that have happened, the challenges. I'm not only talking about those things. I'm also talking about understanding the wins that you had. What are some things that you achieved that you never thought you could achieve in your life? Like, I never knew that I could travel. Like, I used to look at encyclopedias growing up. Encyclopedias are like books with like maps and information, old school Google. I used to look at these things and wonder what type of people live in Peru, what type of people live in Brazil, what type of people live in Kenya. But I never thought I could travel. And once I stopped telling myself that lie, I started traveling. And I've been to like 22 or 23 countries so far, right? And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying, like, once you understand your story, and sometimes the story that we tell ourselves is a lie anyway, right? Because, you know, I used to think that I could never own a home. I used to think all these things. I could never. Those were lies that I told myself. They were lies. They were lies based on my experiences growing up and things that have happened in my life. Once I broke through that and I understood that, I'm like, shit, of course I can travel. Of course I can buy a house. Of course I can meet a fine-ass woman who would become my wife. Of course I could do that. And I did it. So you can do the same thing once you release those blockers in your life. Archer the Fourth said, how do you do that check if you buried something so deep and you don't know it's there? And that's a good question. Just start writing. Every day, just journal. Like, even start with the question. What are 5 major events that have happened in my life that made me who I am? Just start with that one question. And then just start writing. Okay, yeah, I remember I went away to university and played basketball. Never thought I could do that. These are all the things that happened. Once I went away to university, you know, I was able to get an education. I realized that I was actually a good basketball player because I won Rookie of the Year and some other awards. Just start writing. Writing. Just write, right? I think that's the key. Just sit down and say, what are 5 things that happened in my life to make me who I am? Just start with that one question. Just start with that one question. And then some of the things that you didn't even realize that might have been buried. You say, oh yeah, I remember that one time that, you know, I did this. Or I remember that one time that my mom did this or my dad, right? Things that you didn't even realize start coming from the back to the front. And that's what happened with me. You know, I didn't realize all of these different things that were going on with me. And once I put pen to paper, man, I realized all kinds of things about myself. You know, I had blockers with my father and, you know, all these different things. And then because I was able to see them now, I could address them, right? I could address them. And so, I mean, that's just what I see as the power of understanding your story. You know, that's what I see, especially if you're a business owner. You know, Jill said, take the time to self-reflect is so valuable. I really think so, because we're so busy all the time. We're so go, go, go. You know, I often tell people, you got to slow down to speed up. Like, think about that. You have to slow down to speed up. I was working a full-time job. I had a business on the side. I wrote my book. I was taking courses. You know, I was in a relationship with my fiance at the time. We were trying to buy a house. All of these things were happening at the same time. I was constantly on the go. And then once I kind of stepped back and started doing some self-reflection about why I was doing everything I was doing, I realized that I didn't have to do all those things. I realized I need to focus on the 2 or 3 things that are most important. That's my relationship, buying this house, and the wedding. Everything else is whatever. And so you're right, Jill, like really slowing down is so valuable because it can actually speed you up. It can get you through these blockers that you didn't even know were there. It can help you to get back to the things that made you successful in the past. You see, one of the things that I do is I have this system called the Get It Done system. It's a goal setting system. And in the goal setting system, in the Get It Done system, what we actually do is we actually go back and we take a look at some of the things that made you successful in the past. And from that, we can pull patterns from that. And then what we do is we go back and we look at some of the things that you failed at. Like, we have to stop this. Like, this is the other thing that I really don't like. We have to stop sugarcoating things. If you failed at something, you didn't complete it, you didn't do something, it's a failure. As athletes, you're successful or you're not. So you go back and you look at the failures and you look at the things that stopped you from being successful. Now you have a failure pattern. Now you can watch out for those things in the future. And so that's what I have in this Get It Done goal setting system. And I've been using it for a long time with myself and coaching clients. It's like powerful because you have to sit down and think about why you were successful in the past, think about why you failed in the past. You bring that together and you put it in a goal plan and you take action right now. So Jill is completely right. Like, there's so much power in self-reflection, right? Jill said slowing down had brought me a new client this week. What? Congratulations. Awesome. Adam said, I agree. Admit when you fail, when you fuck up. Like, yeah, like, no, it's cool. Stop this. Like, we have to stop. Like, okay, sometimes you just have to feel the pain of not being successful. You have to feel the pain of not being successful. And when you glaze over it, it's kind of like giving every kid a trophy and giving every kid an award. What happens when they graduate university and they think they're going to go to their job and we're all going to get awards and we're all going to get a promotion? No, that's not how the world works. People who work hard and put their time in and have a passion for what they do should have more accolades and success than people who don't. So we have to understand that with ourselves. I failed. I fucked up. I didn't achieve this thing. And I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back to being poor, living in low income housing. I don't want to do that. So why would I skate past that feeling when I just take it in? Like, I don't want to go back there, right? I don't want to go back there. So we have to stop skating past things that we're uncomfortable with and get real about it. Like, okay, yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that I was working at this job, slaving away for 12 hours a day, and they were like, Danny, you need to do more, giving me this little bit of money. I didn't like it. So I'm doing my hardest not to go back there. And so that's what the power of self-reflection can do for you, right? And the same token, it's like, again, the minute I took that very first trip I think my first trip was to New York. International trip was to New York. The minute I went to New York, I said, wow, this is cool. Where can I go next? Then Brazil, Thailand, Vietnam. And it just didn't stop. And now I want to recreate that feeling. So I go back and I say, what made me successful? How was I able to go to Brazil for 2 months on paid vacation? How was I able to do that? And I take all of those things that work and I use them now to achieve my current goals. So that's the power of self-reflection. And that's why we can't do the matrix around, things that have happened in our life. Because if we actually tap into them, they can really help us. Like, they can help you avoid low down dudes in the future or low down girls in the future. It can help you, get past those money blocks. It can help you find that next cool job or start that business, right? That's what it does. So that's the power of really understanding your story, understanding where you've been, where you are, and using that right now. Does that make sense to you guys? I'm just talking sometimes, so I just want to know if it makes sense. Give me a thumbs up, a heart. Let me know if that makes sense to you. Because it makes sense to me. Adam said, all great advice. Cool. So that's what it is. So that's what that podcast episode I just dropped is all about that. You guys go and check out the Grind and Gratitude show. Any platform. If you're on Apple, just go to Apple Podcast. If you're on Android, go to Stitcher, stitcher.com. And yeah, check it out. I really break it down a little bit more in that episode for you. But I really appreciate if you go and show some love on the podcast, subscribe, leave a review, because those things really, really help me. As I was saying, I just released the podcast 3 weeks ago, and I checked the stats today, and we've reached listeners in 10 different countries already. 10 different countries we have listeners already in like 3 weeks. So, I'm really excited about that. I want the podcast to be almost like you're having a conversation with me about the same things we're talking about right now. The podcast is called Grind and Gratitude. Grind and Gratitude. So if you search Grind and Gratitude on Apple Podcast or Stitcher, you can find me. And check it out. It's on Spotify. It's everywhere. Any place that you listen to a podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. But you can only leave a review on Apple and Stitcher. So definitely, if you could do that, that would be great. But I got a lot of really cool things happening for you guys with the podcast. So definitely, every Monday we're dropping a brand new episode. And it's about everything. Like, we're talking about business. We're talking about mindset. We're talking about goals. We're talking about relationships. Everything that you need to help you, like, really live your amazing life. We're talking about it all. I'm going to start having some really cool guests come on. I'll be reaching out to my boy Adam Archer here, get him back. But the podcast is just something that you can listen to. It's like 30 to 60 minutes long, depending on if I have a guest or not. Listen to it on your way to work. Listen to it when you jump up in the morning, you're just doing stuff around the house. And I kind of designed it to give you the same kind of tips that I'm giving you right now. And there's always, some kind of call to action that will really help you to kind of make sense of what I'm talking about. So I'm really excited about the podcast. I'm excited about what we're trying to do with it. I have some other things that are coming up soon, some announcements that I'm going to make with the podcast. And that's cool. So this is Let's Talk with Coach Stone. What I decided is that this is coming to an end soon. So we only have, I think, 4 more episodes after this. I have 3 more conversations coming up. So I'll have 1 more on Friday and then 3 next week. And then that's going to be it for Let's Talk with Coach Stone. But I have something else that I'm working on that's going to be interactive where we can still talk to each other. But, hopefully you guys have been enjoying these. Like I said, I've been doing this now. I don't even know. I think this is my 30-something one. I started on Facebook, so I think I've done about 40 lives so far. And I hope it's been valuable for you. I hope it's not just me rambling and talking. I hope you've been taking stuff away from this. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Like always, I really appreciate the support. And I'm looking forward to it. Friday, I'm coming back with a really cool guest who's going to talk a little bit more about branding and how to grow your personal brand and your business and so many other cool things. He's doing a lot of amazing things right now. And go ahead. Please check out the podcast. Thank you guys. Jill, Adam, CP2 Brand, Felipe, everybody, Keshra, all the people who kind of been following me. I really appreciate it, guys. And, as I grow, we grow together. I'm teaching you what I'm learning and vice versa. I'm always willing to learn from you as well. And I'm not the type of person to have all the answers. I'm just here to talk and to share, to learn and to grow. And so there's big things that are coming for all of us. And just stay tuned because, this is for all of us. It's not just for me. It's not just to build my own personal brand. It's not just about me. It's about me being of service to you so that we can all grow and learn together. That's what it's about. I'm not the type of person to only want to see me win. I want to see every single person here win. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that I help you do that. So thanks a lot, everybody. I'm going to go get myself a cold beer because I deserve it. But I'll be back on Friday. But in the meantime, check out Grind and Gratitude and please leave a review, all right? Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you, guys. See you back here on Friday. Peace.